artist in the entire music awards. So congratulations just on that.
What?
You did. When I was counting the votes, there were daily Sabrina fallah votes coming in.
Well, I did spread the word, but wow, I didn't expect that.
Well, that's why I say you're world famous.
Oh.
Well, Sabrina, thank you so much for joining us in this hour.
Yeah, this was fun.
Make sure to send us any information on upcoming tours, music, anything you'll be doing, so then we can pass it along to our listeners here.
Yeah, I have your email. Definitely.
That was Sabrina fallah. You can check her out on her website at sabrinafallah.com. We've got to take our third time out for this evening. Where do you think you're going?
The John LeBang Show will be right back.
So grab a beer and a smoke and sit your butt back down. Stay right here. Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you want to contact the John LeBang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John LeBang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John LeBang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
We've got Dawn and Gary from the band New Day Dawn joining us all the way from Maplewood, New Jersey. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, John. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Why don't you guys give us a bit of the background of the band and maybe where you came up with the name as well?
Sure, I'll take that. So Gary and I were in a band about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, called Slush Puppy. That was kind of in the late 1990s, early 2000s, and believe it or not, before iTunes and MySpace and Facebook and all social media. And so we were doing it the old-fashioned way, playing in clubs in and around New York City, playing CBGBs and sort of all those really legendary underground venues, and hoping to get a record deal, because that was really the only way you could go from taking your music from a very local area to, you know, a bigger audience. There was no social media and other ways to get it out. So we were doing that, and it was, you know, it was a long haul, and kind of reached a point where the other members in our band left for a different band, and Gary and I, who had been trying to do this for a while, kind of said, you know what, we put our family plans on hold, and we wanted to have a kid. And so we said, you know what, let's put the band on hold for a little while. And we did. And I think immediately after we did, I kind of regretted it, because being a musician and playing in a band, I think for both of us is a big part of who we are as people. And when you don't do it, you kind of feel like you cut off your arm or something, you know? It's like you're missing a limb and you're going through life like, who am I? So shortly after our son was born, we started New Day Dawn, and the name came from the fact that we were kind of starting over from scratch. It came from a little bit about me being, you know, sort of like, I'm going to take charge now, like, you know, the Dawn's in the room and Dawn wants to do this, and so it was my name. It was important for me to incorporate that into the name of the band. And as an inside joke, the band now, we call ourselves New Day Gary, because we know that Gary's really the band.
You're on your third CD, is that correct?
Yep, third one, about to be released in April.
Now, when you're writing these tunes, what's the process behind coming up with all the great tunes you guys do come up with?
Well, most of the songs are mine. I write, and it's like another reason for the name of the band. Like I write the songs. I write both the music and the lyrics, and then I kind of bring the idea to the band, and I say, hey, Gary, you know, what type of drums would you hear on this song? And, you know, what type of, to my guitar player, what type of guitars would you hear, you know, on this song? And what bass? And then we just play around with different ideas. But I usually come in with the core of the melody and the hook of the song and the chord progressions and stuff like that. And this album actually was a little different because I'm not the greatest guitar player in the world. I will admit that freely and openly. And so, but my voice tends to really like to be with some very, guitar riffs and sort of more aggressive kind of music. So it's hard because I don't write aggressive kind of music when it comes to guitar riffs. I'm really chord-based and kind of play an acoustic guitar. So on this record, I worked with a very dear friend of mine who's a fabulous guitar player. He's not in the band, but he's a producer. And I brought him ideas, and he helped me make them sound better, like from the get-go. So,
sometimes it does take a producer to get you to that next level. I understand that myself.
Yeah, definitely. And especially this producer, because he was more almost like a collaborator when it came to the songwriting. I mean, the songs really didn't change in terms of their melodies and the chords, but just the rhythms behind them and the way they're approached. And he really helped us kind of like flesh it out and just make it more.
Well, he's also a very good guitar player and a good drummer. He's a bass player. He plays everything, so he kind of understands the whole process.
He's in a band right now that you might actually be playing on your show called Vexes.
No, but you could tell them to send me stuff, and I'll get it on.
Yeah, you'd really like them. They've got like 2 members from the old Life of Agony band. It's amazing stuff. They're getting played on Sirius XM right now and some other stuff. So I will definitely tell them to send it to you.
Now, your new album has your new single. So
that's okay, and Broken is from that new album too. It's just we released it like 6 months early.
And you say the album is coming out in April?
Yep.
And how many tunes are going to be on the album?
There are 8, 7 originals, and we are actually doing a cover of an Adele song, Set Fire to the Rain, a hard rock cover. Sounds pretty cool.
And who are the influences of the band, and like what kind of equipment do you guys use?
Well, being a drummer, kind of equipment.
I use the drums.
I use the drums. I do have a DW set, but I don't normally bring that one out. So I bought a Gretsch kit, which I love. It's actually not even that expensive. It's a Catalina Club kit, and it's smaller sizes, but you tune it up, get new heads on it, and they mic it, and it sounds great.
Who are our influences? Sound-wise?
I mean, I like a lot of stuff that's out now, like Shinedown and Breaking Benjamin and,
Pop Evil, Otherwise. I mean, Gary and I grew up, we won't tell you how old we are, but we grew up, listening to some of the stuff that was coming out. I mean, we were kids when, like, the stuff in the 80s was coming out, so I know Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and all of that is still an influence. And then I kind of discovered in college, I went back and discovered Led Zeppelin, so that's always a huge influence.
You mentioned Pop Evil. Those are hometown boys right here. I actually filmed them with you.
Yeah, they are, and they're also signed to BMG Publishing, which is the same company that signed our publishing just this year.
Yeah,
so it's funny because they have this big, huge guitar in their offices. It's this big, white, larger-than-life, fake guitar, and everybody who comes through their offices sign it. And so I signed it up near the headstock with all the Pop Evil guys. And I'm like, oh, look, they're right here next to my name.
That's pretty awesome. I had the privilege of filming them just a few years ago. They were playing at the Emerald Theater. That was pretty awesome. A lot of people think it's all glamour and glitz, and there's a lot of hard work being in a band and touring and recording. You could just give some stories about how many hours you've probably spent in the studio getting this album ready.
Oh, my God. I mean, hours upon hours, and you obsess over the littlest things, like how a certain word is pronounced, and then you want to redo it, or how a certain drum sounds, or cymbal.
Right, yeah. I mean, it does take a lot of work. I mean, you'll do, like, 4 or 5 takes of one song and probably, put together, a decent track that way, or sometimes you'll get it all in 1 or 2 takes, but... Yeah, and that's one song, so multiply that by 8.
Or 10 or 15.
10 or 15, yeah.
Your worst critic, because you're you're so close to the material. I mean, when I go back and we listen to our old record, you know, like our first record, I don't remember all the little struggles that we had and all the little debates over, do we use this guitar part or that one, turn this up or that down? But there were all that, and when you first release it, you hear every little thing that bugs you. But then when you get farther away from it, you know, and I think that's like for any artist, and it's funny because I'm looking at my husband, he's a perfectionist, so he'll hear me say, I don't like the way I sang that note. And he'll be like, well, then why didn't you fix it? And I say, I don't want to hear about it for the next 10 years, he'll say. And I'll say, because at some point, like, you got to let the baby go. You just got to let it out into the world. You can't, like, just keep obsessing over it or you'll never release anything.
So as you gain all this experience, you get better in the studio as well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, you've gotten a lot better because you started practicing to a click and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, when I first started recording, I never even played to a click, and then you get in the studio, and it's like being put under a microscope, you know. You hear every little note, every little bass or whatever, drum hit. But yeah, so like when I first started, I didn't play to one, and you would hear like every little, like even if you have like ghost notes on something, you'd be like, oh, why did I play that? Like, you're supposed to play the drum cleanly, you know what I mean, or a guitar cleanly. So it's really like being put under a microscope. So you really have to, you know, get in shape for it too, like, because you're playing for 3 or 4 hours, and you might be playing 1 or 2 or 3 songs that day, and you know, it's physically hard too, you know, not just performance-wise. And
mentally, because you're on time restraints, and you've got to get this thing done. Right. So, that adds to it as well. So what are the goals for the band for 2018?
I think the number one goal is to just get these songs out there. I really, and you know, I like to think that these are the best we've ever done. You know, like you said, as a band and as individual musicians, you just keep getting better and better and evolving. And I think these are probably some of the best songs I've ever written, some of the best vocals that I've ever done. You know, and the goal is just to get the songs as wide as possible. And, you know, I think for us too, being a little bit older, we don't, you know, like, we're not as adept at doing a lot of the video stuff that the younger bands do. I mean, they just kind of put, you know, they have live video on going all the time, like video diaries and video blogs and, you know, just really letting fans into their life 24/7. And we haven't been that great at that. I mean, we have music videos, but other than that, we kind of present ourselves more audio only, or, you know, text and audio as opposed to visuals. So we got to get better at that. That's like another goal.
No, that's all right. Our son's going to be 13 next month, so he could help us with that.
Teach us.
So how do people find New Day Dawn on the internet?
Well, you can find us on all the social media sites. We're at, you know, Facebook.com New Day Dawn, Twitter at New Day Dawn, Instagram New Day Dawn. On YouTube, if you just type in New Day Dawn, you'll find our videos, but we have a channel called New Day Dawn TV. What else? Oh, and our regular website, or, you know, like our whatever core website is www.newdaydawn.info. And I'm always online. I love to talk to fans. I love to answer questions. So if anybody wants to send me a message on Facebook or through our website, please feel free, and we love hearing from our fans.
I can't thank you enough for you two being on. Please keep us informed of anything going on with the band, new material, show dates, anything that might come up that you think we should pass on to our listeners, and I'll be happy to share it with all the people that are tuned in tonight.
Great. Thanks, John.
Well,
ladies and gentlemen, that was Dawn and Gary of New Day Dawn.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station. participants.